What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a closer look at the Samsung Galaxy Fold 5. I've had this phone for only a couple of days and I've been getting my hands on it as much as I can, trying to use it in all the scenarios I could possibly think of. So this is going to be a rather shorter video than usual. It's going to be a first impressions on the Fold 5. I already have a couple of opinions, couple of things I want to share about with you guys about the phone. We're going to jump in all of that today. But the big question is today, should you or should anybody even consider a folding phone or just one of these devices in general? So let's talk about it. All right, guys, so there is obviously a big elephant in the room, and that is the simple fact that this is a very interesting folding phone. Now, before we jump into any of the specifics and any of the opinions I have on the phone, this is the 5th iteration of this specific lineup of phone. Samsung has officially dropped 4 previous models. So they had the Fold 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this is their latest one, the Fold 5. It's really nice. I would have to say, before I jump into anything, I have to say that overall, it's a really nice phone. It feels premium. It's high quality. It feels very classy, very business-esque kind of vibe to it, especially in this nice matte black color. Super clean, very reminiscent of the Samsung S23 Ultra. So it kind of has that same vibe to it. And it feels like it's kind of its cousin or like somewhere in the same family. It feels like it's a relative. The Samsung Galaxy Fold 5 has a lot of improvements and it is very nice in its category. So there's other folding phones out there. We know Huawei has their own lineup of folding phones, and there's also other companies that are slowly starting to jump on the gun. There's not that many options on the market when it comes to folding phones, but I do know that Samsung has had this specific lineup, the Fold, for a little while. This 5th is the iteration. Now, this 5th iteration definitely holds its ground. It's an improvement. It definitely feels like a little bit better than all the other ones, not only in terms of looks, in terms of materials, and in terms of build, but also overall in terms of performance. Now, I do want to say that, first of all, like opening a phone like this is the part where I get a little bit more real with you guys. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, you open a phone and this is like the main screen that you have, and there's like a small screen that you see here, and then you have to open the whole phone, and then you have this square. Essentially, it's generally a square. If you look at it, it's kind of inevitable to see that the screen itself is a ginormous square. And I think that in a way that is nice, but it also has its downsides. Now, the screen being a square is a very interesting thing. It's nice, but at the same time, it's also kind of weird. It's confusing a little bit, especially for me. It's confusing because if it's a square standing up and it's a square when you put it sideways, then what's the point really of having a folding phone that's about the same in any shape or form that you twist it? Now, I know this might be something that I've noticed. Now, this might be something that's personal to me. I've pointed this out, but in some way, it kind of makes sense. You know, why would you have a phone that's folding? The folding mechanism itself is not an issue. That's not the problem. But the problem is, for me personally, is that, for example, if I have a square phone like this, the maximum screen size that I'm getting here is a square, and I turn it to the side and it's the exact same thing. Yes, you're operating differently, but it's like the software's changed, but not really, because it's kind of taking up the same space, which is weird a little bit. Now, I do want to say that all that aside, minus the confusion of the square screen on my end, I do have to admit that the crease down the middle, which is probably the biggest concern, is the biggest maybe flag, the biggest thing that jumps to your eye when you look at a device like this one. It definitely is amazing. It definitely feels premium. It feels like it's been enhanced. It feels like it's been definitely catered and made for this specific kind of niche. It feels good. The folding phone itself does have a really nice mechanism to it. It feels fluid. It feels natural. It doesn't feel awkward. And one thing that's really important to notice is that there's no more gap in the middle of the phone anymore. Now, with the specific design, it feels like they've perfected the crease, which is really nice. There is no more gap in between both sides of the lid, and that also creates this sort of safety proof, weatherproof for the long term, essentially, because when the actual device closes properly and there is no more gap, that means no more dust, or better yet, you know, less dust, or very little amount of dust or scratches can actually get to the phone and get to the big screen that's inside, which I think is really good. Overall, if you're going to make a folding phone, you know, you might as well perfect the folding aspect about it, because that is the main key to the phone. You know, it operates, it has really good internals. You know, it's in terms of performance, it does handle really well. It's pretty on par with the Samsung S23 Ultra, so I definitely have to say that if you're looking for a performing phone, this is up there. It's going to give you exactly that. It has a 120 hertz refresh rate, and it also has a good set of triple cameras that I will get into in a minute. I just want to really cover up real quick the screen and the folding mechanism. It feels nice. It kind of feels like when you close it, it has that satisfying pluck. The overall build quality of the phone is really nice, and I do have to say that for the most part, it is a premium phone. It's definitely not entry level, definitely flagship. If you're going to be looking, if you actually are interested in this phone by this time and point in the video, or you were already interested before even watching this video, please do note that this is not a cheap phone. This is a very expensive phone, especially here in Canada. We always get shafted. This is a pricey one. It sits all the way up at $2,500. It is an enormous amount of money for a specific piece of technology. But then again, it has a lot of features. It has basically two screens, or rather, shall I say, one big one. But then again, it comes down to how you see things. It is great in terms of performance. Now, I really do want to touch up quickly on the cameras. They're pretty good. They take some really high clarity pictures, and I think for the most part for this phone, it's great. We've seen a significant improvement from the Fold 4 to the Fold 5s in terms of camera performance, and it also really looks nice. It has a really clean finish. Like I said earlier in the video, very reminiscent of the Samsung S23 Ultra. Feels like it's a long lost brother. It feels like it's a relative, but the performance itself of the cameras is definitely up there. You can take some really nice pictures. Now, I think it's very important to point out that this folding mechanism actually allows you to get kind of creative in how you use the camera and how you use the phone. Now, you could have it standing on the desk kind of like a book, and you can use the camera. You could use the backside camera and use the screen inside to see what you're looking at. You can also use the backside camera and have a preview of what's going on the screen from the outside, which is kind of cool because you can kind of mix and match on how you use the phone. And overall, I do have to say that as I'm using the phone more and more throughout the days, the folding itself wasn't that much of an issue. I think it becomes more and more natural over time. Now, in quick comparison to the Galaxy Flip 5, which is also a phone that I'm going to be covering soon on the channel, as I think this one has a little bit more value, something a little bit more interesting about it, maybe personally to me, but I think something like this phone feels a lot more natural to flip down and close like this than to have a phone that you have to fold open. I think maybe that's just a question of preference. Now, I know these two phones specifically are not in the same price category, nor are they really the same, although they do have their similarities, as they are two phones that have a hinge, and they are two phones that kind of work in the same way, but not really. So I think a comparison between these two would be actually something pretty valid, and I will do that on the channel, so stick around. I'm going to be having that soon. Now, overall, for the first impressions on the Fold 5, I think it's kind of a confusing device for me. I'm very much a traditional. I like just one main screen, a simple design. The Fold 5 feels very sophisticated and very complex, but at what cost? You know, I don't necessarily think on a day-to-day basis, I find this really hard for me to use this phone efficiently and very much maximize all of the features that it has. And I think that might just be me, but then again, now I really do want to do a day in the life video with this phone specifically and kind of see how I can maximize and how I can put all of the features that the phone has to offer to fruition. This has been kind of like my overall first impression of the phone. I do like it, but I don't think it's necessarily the most amazing phone out there. And I do have to say that one alarming thing about this phone is that the price tag is just insanely high. It is a lot of money for a specific smartphone, and I think you should just be wary. You know, just really consider whether you like it or not. It's always worth a shot to just buy the phone, try it out a little bit, and if you don't like it, you can always return it. But I definitely have to say that you need to consider everything before you buy this specific phone, as it has a couple of things. For me personally, the folding phone just confuses me, and I'm not a big fan of the very long, slim screen in front when it's folded. So overall, I have to say that the Samsung Fold 5 is a bit confusing for me. It's maybe not my cup of tea, and it might be yours. So then again, guys, if you are interested in the Samsung Fold 5, I'll have more information on the channel soon. Stick around. I also will have videos on the Galaxy Flip 5 and the Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra, which I'm really excited about. That's going to be a really good video. Now, I'm also going to have a video on those two specific products. I'm really excited about the Tab S9 Ultra. It looks really interesting. It's such a big device. I honestly can't wait to cover it for you guys. So stick around. Make sure you subscribe. You guys know the drill. So guys, make sure you stay tuned. There's a lot of videos coming on the way. Subscribe. You guys know the drill. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in everything you do. Make sure you let me know actually in the comment section down below. What do you think of the S Fold 5? I think it's pretty good. But then again, we'll have to wait and see over time. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe. Deuces.